It was a rough one in Fenway as Schwellenbach gets shellacked and the Braves offense gets shut out for the first time in over a year, a month after their worst offensive month in 8 years. We'll discuss all that on today's episode of Locked On Braves, so let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I am your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on social media at Shortstop of All. Check out the podcast there as well at LockedOn_Braves. Send in any questions, comments, or feedback that you have for the podcast. We'll have our mailbag episode on Thursday night, so be looking out for a post from LockedOn_Braves on X. Respond to that post with your question to be answered on Friday's mailbag episode. You're listening on the audio version, make sure you leave me a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. And if you're new on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and that thumbs up button. It does help support the show when you do that. And if you're an everydayer, let me know down in the comments section below, just like Adam Dowd, who I know is in here today, Jeffrey Humphreys, I know he's going to make it, Doc's Cards as well, and so many others. Thank you for letting me know that you're an everydayer. We got Austin Perez, Ecuadorman, Brandon Dukes, Volt 66, Braves Thrills, and Adam Dowd, like I just mentioned, in here with me live tonight. Thank you so much for joining. And I know we'll have others rolling in here as we go along. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. On today's podcast, we are going to ever so briefly touch on Wednesday's poor performance in Boston. We'll talk about Spencer Schwellenbach. Does he get another chance in the rotation? But I mainly want to focus on the Braves in the month of May. And I know you probably don't want to hear that. You're ready to move on just like I am. But for just one more time, let's take a look back at what was the worst offensive month for this team in 8 years. We'll dive into all of that and hopefully looking forward to much better in the future. It can't be much worse. And then we will also take a look around the league, see where everybody else is right now. And the Braves falling back in the NL East, dropped another game on Wednesdays. The Phillies just don't lose. It's the old Frank the Tank saying typically about the Braves. Right now it is true about the Phillies. They just don't lose. So we'll discuss that and also set you up for the Nats series this weekend. But again, let's, as I said, briefly touch on Wednesday's loss because me and Grant aren't doing the postcast tonight. We'll pick that back up on Thursday. But it was a 9-0 loss to the Red Sox. Look, at the end of the day, it's essentially a 4-game series with the Red Sox, 2 at home, 2 on the road, and you win 3 of those. So if you look at it that way, the Braves won a 4-game series over the Red Sox this year. But man, what a rough way to end that 4-game series, losing 9-0. You get 1 hit. And look, I want to give credit to Nick Pivetta because he was on his game. He was great, no doubt about it. But how many times have we had to say that about a pitcher so far this year and that pitcher looked good. The opposing pitcher looked really good today. Did he or did the Braves offense just look that bad? And, this is one of the days where I do think, Nick Pivetta, who's a very good strikeout pitcher, he was very good. I'll say this, though. I was getting very frustrated, and we've talked about it all year long. There seems to be no game plan. And this is a guy they just saw at the beginning of May, a month ago. And they should be familiar with him, and they got him in that start. So maybe he adjusted back from what he did in Atlanta, because in Atlanta they got him for 3 home runs. But you could just tell in this game, and it just became so frustrating because I mentioned it on yesterday's podcast. His sweeper, his curveball are nearly unhittable. Batters are batting under 150 against both of those pitches this year. If you are looking for those pitches, you're not going to have a good day. You got to sit on that fastball. I'm not saying this is easy. But the fact you could see when they swung at these fastballs, how they were fouling them off, they were caught in between. And that just tells me there's not much of a game plan up there. If you're caught in between looking for either his fastball or his curveball, you're going to have days like you had on Wednesday because you just can't do that against a pitcher like Pivetta, who, again, has really good secondary stuff. And again, his fastball is good. It has good life up in the zone, 94, 95. But it's your best chance to get to Nick Pivetta. And the Braves were just missing good fastballs that they could do something with because it seemed like they were so wary of the curveball that they just were late on the fastball. And again, that's what a pitcher wants. A pitcher wants to keep you off balance. He wants to keep you thinking about those off-speed pitches and run that fastball by you. But I just don't understand why, especially early in counts, Braves hitters weren't looking for that fastball, hunting that fastball, because you get to 2 strikes against Pivetta, you're going to get either that curveball or that sweeper, and it's just very hard to square those 2 pitches up. So it's just another game where there's a lack of game plan, it seems like, from these Braves hitters. Now, on the other side, Spencer Schwellenbach was a rough outing for him, his second outing, and he got lit up 6 runs, didn't quite make it through the 5th inning. Look, there were good stuff in this. There was not so good stuff. And my biggest takeaway for Spencer Schwellenbach is he's throwing too many strikes. And that's good in a sense. You don't want somebody, a young pitcher especially, that's going to come up and walk the world. 3 times in this game, he got to an 0-2 count and then threw a fastball just too close to the plate that went for hits. His biggest key, again, I don't know if he's going to get another chance in the rotation. We'll see what happens. They give somebody else an opportunity, but either way, what he's got to work on going forward is how to put hitters away. He has no problem getting to 2 strikes. He did it all throughout the game on Wednesday. It's finding ways to put hitters away, knowing how to throw quality 2-strike pitches to get hitters to chase and to get that weak contact. And he just wasn't able to do that on Wednesday, and he wasn't getting the chases. Good job by the Red Sox laying off some of those good sliders that he did throw. But just too many times he was having to come back to that fastball, and the hitters were just ready for it. They were laying off his off-speed stuff. He did start to mix in that changeup, especially in that 4th inning. And if he can get that going, especially against lefties, I think he could, have a lot of success with that. All that to say, I really like Spencer Schwellenbach. Again, I think he still has a bright future, but the guy has just over 100 professional innings. There is still a lot for him to work on. And he was a reliever in college. So I'm not going to be too hard on Spencer Schwellenbach at this point, but I do have to wonder, is this the last time we've seen him for a little bit? Is somebody else going to get an opportunity next time around? Because he got hit hard. Make no mistakes about it. While I do like the stuff and I do think a future is there, it was a rough outing for him. So we'll see again what happens with that going forward. But nothing was going to matter because the offense got shut out. And it was the first time they got shut out in over a year, which tells you how good this offense has been. But as we know, watching the Braves through the first 2 months of this season, it has been a struggle for this offense. In fact, they just put up the worst offensive month they have had in 8 years. We're going to dive more into that here next. Baseball season is in full swing. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBI, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry today. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. And it's really simple. All you got to do, download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's all lowercase, LOCKEDONMLB. You click on over to the MLB section. You see what they have. You look right now. They have Joey Estes, who's pitching in just a minute. So you're probably going to miss this one unless you're watching me live. They have him at 3.5 strikeouts. Do you think he'll get more or less than that? Logan Gilbert, who's about to start as well, 33.5 pitcher fantasy score. You pick more or less. It is that simple. And they got pitcher strikeouts, total bases, home runs, and so much more that you can pick from. Pitcher strikeout combos as well. Logan Gilbert and Joey Estes, will they get 11, more than 11 or less than 11 strikeouts tonight? Stolen bases, doubles, walks allowed. There's so much that you can pick from. And again, it's super simple. Just download the PrizePicks app today and pick more or less on 2 to 6 players on those player stats that I just mentioned. And you can use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. Do you like watching sports on your TV all day in the background while you work, just like I do? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're wrapping up another week on the podcast, and on Thursday night, after me and Grant do the postcast for Thursday's game, we will have a live mailbag episode. So get ready to submit your questions for that episode, and if you can, join me live on Thursday night. Don't know what time yet. Again, it'll be after me and Grant record the postcast for Thursday's game. All right, let's get into the title of today's discussion, and it's probably a title that many of you are not excited about, but if you love misery, you're going to love this section right here. The Braves just had their worst offensive month by OPS since 2016. This past May, the Braves ranked 23rd in OPS at 662. In 27 games, they scored 93 runs, hit 28 home runs, and slashed 227, 289, 373, a 373 slug for this Atlanta Braves lineup. That seems impossible. You look at some individual disappointments for the month of May. Michael Harris, 200, 250, 270, 520 was Michael Harris. It's just, and he's your leadoff hitter right now. That's just what's been happening for the Braves here lately, and it's hard to overcome slumps like that for, a team that everybody is struggling. And again, I'm not trying to put it all on Michael Harris, but especially after Ronald goes down, this is a guy that you are looking to step up in his absence. One of the guys that you're hoping is going to step up in his absence, and he just wasn't able to do that in the month of May. Orlando Arcia in the month of May slashed 188, 206, 333 with a 539 OPS. 3 walks to 22 strikeouts. Adam Duvall, 169, 246, 356. That's a 602 OPS. He had 3 home runs, 5 walks to 17 strikeouts. Austin Riley, 231, 286, 327 slash line. That's a 613 OPS, just 1 home run, 4 walks to 14 strikeouts in 14 games. I'm going to give Riley a little bit of a pass because he was off to a great start in the month of May before he had the injury. Then he missed 2 weeks, didn't get a rehab assignment, was thrust right back into the action, thrust right back into the 2-hole with Ronald no longer there. And it's been a struggle for him getting going again. So I give Riley a little bit of a pass. Ozzie Albies slash 233, 310, 311, 621, 5 doubles, 1 home run, 11 walks to 18 strikeouts. Out of everything that you have from the month of May, a 310 on base from Ozzie, I will take. 11 walks from Ozzie Albies, I will take. But the 1 home run, that you expect a little bit more power from Ozzie than that. Travis d'Arnaud, 232, 290, 339, 629 OPS. Again, I can live with a 290 average from my catcher, but he's been batting 5th or 6th a lot in the month of May. It's just, you've had to force people up into spots they shouldn't be in. 6 doubles and no home runs. That 5 home run stretch for Travis d'Arnaud is so long ago now at this point. And just 4 walks to 16 strikeouts for Travis. Jared Kelenic, 231, 250, 446, a 696 OPS. He had the 4th highest OPS of any Braves player in the month of May with 3 doubles, a triple, 3 homers, just 2 walks though, and 21 strikeouts. You look at your top 3 OPS guys from the month of May. Acuna, 757. A lot of people out there saying when Acuna went down, it's not like he was doing much. You would take Acuna's 757 OPS right now from the month of May. You'll take his 330, 340 on base percentage that he had this season. Trust me, this lineup is missing Ronald Acuna Jr. Matt Olson, I've been telling you, he's been swinging the bat good for a while. He had almost an 800 OPS in the month of May. Marcelo Ozuna, obviously been great all year at 938 OPS. Here's the problem. In a given month, you're going to have a player that's extremely hot. You're going to have a player that's extremely cold. What you cannot have one player that's extremely hot, maybe one or two other players that are just good, and everybody else be absolutely terrible. You just can't. You cannot have that in a singular month. And that's just really hard to overcome. And that's what the Braves have had to deal with. Again, it's not just, 2 or 3 guys are having a really bad month. That's going to happen. You can't have 6 of your regulars all have an OPS around 600 or lower for an entire month and just have 1 or 2 guys, have a good month. it's not going to have much success when that's the case. And again, for whatever reason, we don't have to get into the specifics of just why that's happening and why they were so bad, but something's got to give. You just cannot have over half of your lineup that bad over an entire month. Again, there are ups and downs in a season. We know that. Ozzy Albies is one of those guys. He can be absolutely hot for a 2 or 3 week stretch, and then he can be absolutely cold as ice for a 2 or 3 week stretch as well. There are ups and downs in a season, but you cannot go a full month with Michael Harris having a 520 OPS, Orlando Arcia 539, Duvall 602, Riley 613, Albie 621, Travis 629, Kelnick even 696. I mean, that's just not, you can't have sustainable success when that happens. It's amazing that the Braves were 14-15 in the month of May, despite all of that. And again, hopefully that's put behind them. But getting back to the stat, I went and looked at the OPS for every month until I found one that was worse. And it have to go all the way back to May of 2016. And many Braves fans don't want to remember that 2016 season. But in May of 2016, they ranked dead last with a 627 OPS. In 28 games, they scored 86 runs, had 16 home runs, and slashed 228, 291, 336. You want to go back to April of 2016? They also ranked last with a 590 OPS. Now, this was just 23 games played in April, 75 runs, 5 home runs hit in 23 games. That team was so bad. But you have to go all the way back to 2016 to find a month where the Braves offense was as bad as they were in May of 2024. And you can go to May of 2019, they ranked 24th in OPS, but they had a 711 OPS. 2019 was obviously the year of the juiced baseballs. As we know, the baseballs are just different. That's no excuse for the way the Braves offense has performed, but the baseballs are different. They're not carrying as much. And when you're a Braves team that is so reliant on slug, and that's been neutralized, that's been nerfed, whatever you want to say, and it has been. You can look at all the statistics out there. The ball is not traveling on average as much as it used to, even for this time of year. We all know the balls typically travel more in the summertime, but you can look at the numbers for this stretch of the season compared to other, first 2 months of the season, and the ball's just not carrying as much. But again, that's no excuse for how bad this offense has been, because everybody, I would assume, is dealing with that same issue. And the Braves have been a bottom 5 offense for over a month now. Now we're going to get into overall stats here in a second, and you'll probably be surprised to see that the Braves overall in the season are still a top 10 offense, but certainly things have changed. I always go back to the April 20th date is where things kind of fell off a cliff. And just one more note, last year, the Braves were top 4 in all 6 months, full 6 months that games were played last year. They were top 4 in OPS in every single one of those months. And this is pretty much the same group from last year. So still just kind of crazy. And they're not exactly off to a blazing start in June either. They got shut out on Wednesday. But just some crazy numbers for you there. And again, this month we just witnessed is the worst offensive month we have seen in 8 years. It can only go up from here, right? Please tell me I'm right. Please tell me that's what's going to happen. But again, you can have a couple of guys, 2 or 3 guys have a really bad month. You cannot have 6 or 7 guys all have absolutely terrible months. And that's what the Braves experienced in the month of May. We'll take another break here. When we come back, I'll take you around the league, look at the standings. We'll look at some of those league leaders where, again, you're going to be surprised where you see the Braves offense rank through the first 2 months of the season. We'll discuss that here next. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful, and it's not when you use GameTime. GameTime is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, viewed from your seat, and their best price guarantee. GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets, and GameTime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. What I love about them, why they are the only ticket purchasing app that I use now, is because I appreciate that they give you that all-in pricing. What that means is when you're looking for a ticket to your next game, you're going to pay the price that you see there. No hidden fees. You're not getting to the checkout line and thinking, okay, this isn't the deal I thought it was. You know up front, and I really appreciate that. You also get the view from your seat right there in your app. You know what it's going to look like. You go to Fenway Park. Maybe some Braves fans traveled to Fenway Park this past week. You can see there are some obstructed views there. You go to Wrigley, same thing. You want to make sure you know what that view looks like before you buy it. And again, you get that all right there in the GameTime app, and also that GameTime guarantee, which means you'll get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's jump into our Around the League segment. Let's look at the standings here, and things are getting a little scary in the NL East. The Phillies are now up 8 games on the Braves with a plus 104 run differential. They just won 3 games against the Brewers, so you can't make the excuse that they didn't play a good team. They just are. They're a good team. You know, I said that from the beginning of the season. I thought they should have been in there with the conversation of the Dodgers and the Braves as on paper being one of the best teams in all of baseball. Now, I would have ranked them third, but they are certainly proving in the regular season so far that they're the best team in baseball. I mean, at this point, I think you'd take them over the Braves and the Dodgers right now with the way that they are playing. But we know, Braves fans surely know, it doesn't really matter if you're the best team in the regular season. All that matters is what happens in the postseason. And we'll see what happens. I'm not quite ready to give up on the NL East. There also just doesn't seem to be, a lot of pressure, whatever you want to call it, from the Braves right now. And again, we're just 2 months into the season, so probably shouldn't be panicking too much. And I know they're not, but again, how much does it matter to them to win that division? In reality, we'll see. Again, it's a long way to go, but certainly the Braves got a big hill to climb right now. You look at the rest of the National League, despite the Brewers losing 3 in a row to the Phillies, they're still 5.5 games up on the Cubs in the NL Central. The Dodgers are up 7 games on the Padres. No team in the NL West has a winning record over the last 10 games. I cannot figure out the NL West. I feel like there should be a lot of good teams out there. I feel like the Dodgers, and then it just feels like a bunch of mediocre teams right now and one really bad team. Only 4 National League teams have a record over 500 at the moment. So it's really 4 good teams in the National League and a bunch of mediocre to really bad teams in the National League. There's 8 teams in the American League with a winning record, including 4 in the AL Central, where the Guardians have a 5-game lead over the Royals, who are just 3-7 in their last 10, while the Guardians are 7-3. You go to the AL East. I know I'm kind of going out of order here. The Yankees are up 2.5 over the Orioles. Both are 8-2 in their last 10 games. Right now, you look at who's the best teams in baseball. I think it's got to be, Phillies, Yankees, Orioles in some sort of combination. I would probably put them as the 3 best teams right now. You look in the AL West, the Mariners are now 5.5 up on the Rangers, and they're 8-2 in their last 10 games. So they're looking pretty good there. Despite a lack of offense for them, they're getting it done with pitching as well. But the Mariners got a pretty good lead at this point. There's some big leads in a lot of these divisions. I mean, it's kind of crazy to look at it right now, but the Guardians are up 5 games. The Mariners are up 5.5. The Phillies are up 8. The Brewers are up 5.5. The Dodgers are up 7. The only division right now that's really close is the NL East between the Yankees and the Orioles. So kind of crazy, but still a long way to go. All right, we are 2 months into the season, so I wanted to look at some team stats right now, just where teams stand. The Padres lead all of baseball with a 259 batting average, followed by the Astros, Yankees, Dodgers, and Brewers. The Braves are 10th in batting average. Again, that probably surprises you. It tells you how good those first 2.5 weeks were for the Braves. OPS, the Yankees are 776, leading all of baseball, followed by the Dodgers, Orioles, and Phillies. And then the Braves are 9th. Again, still in the top 10 in OPS and average. You look at runs scored, the Phillies are at the top with 320 in 63 games, followed by the Yankees, Orioles, Guardians, and Brewers. The Braves are 16th, but in only 59 games. Everyone ahead of them, except for the Orioles, has played at least 62 games. So the Braves are probably around, top 10, top 12 in runs scored as well, all games being even. And then you look at home runs, the Orioles and Yankees are tied at the top with 92, followed by the Astros, Dodgers, and A's. The Braves are 16th, but again, most of the teams ahead of them have played at least 2 or 3 more games. You look at the pitching side of things, and I broke this up by starters and relievers. Phillies starters lead all of baseball with a 2.64 ERA, followed by the Yankees rotation, Orioles, Royals, and Red Sox. Surprised to see the Braves are 12th. I think part of that is they got off to a really rough start, and the 5th start in the rotation has been pretty bad for the Braves. But we know that top 4 has been really, really good. Whip leaders for starting rotation, the Mariners at 103, followed by the Phillies, Yankees, Red Sox, Orioles, and the Braves are 13th. Now, many of you, if you would have come in here and looked at, the team stats for the first 2 months of the year, you would have thought the Braves starting rotation was top 10 in baseball and that the offense was, top 20, but it's not the case right now. The Braves do lead all of baseball, at least their starting rotation, with a K per 9 of 9.07, and they're doing that without Spencer Strider. Yankees are second, followed by the Padres, Twins, and Phillies. And then in walk per 9, the Twins lead all of baseball at 1.95, followed by the Rays, Mariners, Tigers, and the Braves are 17th. Got to work on those walks for the Braves starters, beginning a lot of that coming from the 5th spot in the rotation. As far as the relievers go, the Guardians lead pretty much every stat for relievers. They're first in ERA at 2.38. They're first in WHIP at 0.97. They're 4th in K per 9, and they're first in walk per 9. So the Guardians by far have the best bullpen in baseball. The Braves are 6th in ERA. They're 16th in WHIP, which is kind of crazy because they don't walk anybody. They're 4th in walk per 9, and they're just 18th in strikeouts per 9. That makes me a little worried, but again, we've seen a lot of Jesse Chavez and others here coming out of the bullpen. But you typically do want guys that don't walk a lot, which the Braves relievers don't do that, but you also want them to be able to get strikeouts when you need it, and they haven't done that exceptionally well this year. A little bit of news from around the league. Garrett Cole is getting close to rejoining the Yankees. The Astros lose both Jose Urquidy and Christian Javier to elbow surgery for the rest of the year. Could the Astros be sellers? What could they be selling? That could be a conversation to come up. Sounds like the Padres are already pursuing Garrett Crochet. If the Padres get Garrett Crochet, if the White Sox trade Garrett Crochet, I don't believe they're going to. I mean, I feel like you need to build your team around him going forward, but it is the White Sox. We'll see. Jeff Passan on June 4th and others made a note that Ippei Muzahara, messed up on that one, guilty plea. With his guilty plea, MLB has cleared Shohei Ohtani and closed its investigation, citing the thoroughness of the federal investigation and the criminal proceedings not being contested. MLB considers Shohei Ohtani a victim of fraud, and this matter has been closed. Take it for what you will. I mean, the court system's there for a reason. You have to trust it, but I understand public opinion. If he was apparently his best friend, David Fletcher, who we knows his troubles coming at some point, was considered one of his best friends. I'm not sitting here to say that Ohtani was gambling, but to just say that he flat out didn't know, again, that's kind of hard to believe. But investigation is a closed matter. It's a done deal for Major League Baseball. Marlins DFA'd Avisail Garcia. They owe him $17 million in the next 2 years. How bad do you have to be for the Marlins to cut you while they still owe you $17 million? Going back to some gambling, we're seeing too much gambling stuff happening right now for baseball. That needs to go away. But MLB laid out some suspensions for Padres prospect Marcano. He was banned indefinitely, essentially for life, because he bet on not just baseball, but games that his team was involved in. Others got suspensions as well. I don't really know any of these guys, except for Jay Groom's the only name that I noticed. But Sal Frank, Andrew Sal Frank, Michael Kelly, Jay Groom, Jose Rodriguez, they all bet on baseball in some fashion, but didn't bet on their team's games. So they got 1 year suspension. And you go look at some of this. Go follow Robert Murray on X because he's got the numbers on this. None of these guys are particularly good at gambling, which is just kind of hilarious. You would think if you're going to be doing that you had some sort of insider information to give you a tip, but all these guys were pretty bad still at gambling. So that's the news from around the league. Sean Murphy had a little bit of scare on Tuesday as he got hit in the elbow, but the swelling was already down on Wednesday. Sounds like he has avoided an injury there. Jared Kelenic rolled up on his wrist diving to catch a ball on Wednesday, but he also seemed okay, and x-rays looked good after the game. All-star voting is open. If you feel there's any Braves players worthy of your vote, let me know in the comments section. Which Braves players do you think deserve to be in an all-star game? Obviously, some pitchers should be there. Max Fried, Chris Sale, maybe Ronaldo Lopez, Marcelo Ozuna. Those guys are all worthy. But which Braves players do you think get to the all-star game? George Smith says, Jake, are you going to be voting for the all-star players? I don't typically vote for all-star game anymore. I really don't care that much about the all-star game anymore, especially when they moved it from Atlanta. That really kind of irked me, and I'm still upset about it. I know the Lord tells me to forgive, but I'm just holding on to that grudge. But I know it is coming back, so that'll be exciting. But I don't know. I just don't get into the all-star game as much anymore, so I probably will not be voting. I don't think I have in several years. Didn't really get into the Nats preview. Maybe we'll do a little bit of that on the Mailbag podcast on Thursday night. Again, I'll record that after me and Grant do our postcast, so be looking out for that. But I'll just say this. For one, control the run game. It ran all over the Braves last time. And this is my obvious TCB type of series. You are better than the Nationals. You should be better than the Nationals. Play like you are better than the Nationals. Take care of business. They embarrassed you back home, went taking 3 out of 4 there, and honestly just, again, running all over the place. Take care of business. It starts now. There's too many series here lately, whether it's the Pirates, the Nationals at home, the A's, where they've had opportunities against lesser opponents to get on track and take care of business, and they haven't done it. Let's make that happen this weekend, starting on Thursday night. Again, me and Grant will have that for you on the postcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. If you're new, hit that thumbs up button. Make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast, and we will talk to you next time.